One. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Culture Shock podcast. If you are new here, as always, why don't you go ahead and click the subscribe button? My name is Mpangwe, and I'm always bringing you the content that drives your faith, pushes culture, and always shapes people's perspective. Today, we have a very interesting show lined up for you. I have an old friend who I have not connected with from as far back, I think it was 2005. So it's probably 15, 16 years. We were college mates. Little did I know she was going to be famous, right? I should have befriended her more then, right? But I'm so glad to connect with her once again. She looks after Trace Africa. And she is doing great things on the continent, driving music on the continent, as well as content creation. We're going to get into so much today. So, Culture Shock Africa, please make welcome my friend Valentine Gaudin Muteba. Did I pronounce that right, Val?
Yes, you did. You did. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on the show. It's so good to reconnect with you.
Yeah. Val, it's been a long time since we last met. I want to know, what are you up to? What's going on in your world?
Okay. So I'm now past the Rhodes University days. I'm now, and never left South Africa, by the way. Love this country too much. Originally from France, but I'm now the managing director for Southern Africa, and I've been promoted regional director for Anglophone and Lusophone Africa for Trace.
Wow.
We all know Trace TV.
Congratulations.
So I'm in charge of the operations. Thank you, man. Marketing, events, comms, music business, programming, music services, business development, content. It's all under my portfolio. And recently in SA, we've acquired a production company called Localisation. So that's, we're trying to see how we can work together. So, and I think Trace, global platform dedicated to Afro-urban cultures and the youth success. And we really want to be the voice for Afro-urban culture. And lately, the core mission of the company is to empower the youth.
Right.
We really are trying to empower. We can't just be an entertainment platform. We just need to bring more value to people's lives. So there's a lot of platforms in development, and I don't know if we'll get to touch on that, but because this is a really music-oriented discussion. But yeah, we're really trying to give back. Inspire, train, connect, and give tools to people to succeed.
Right. Speaking of empowerment, Val, what's it like being a woman in the industry? And congratulations. We've seen women empowerment being a very key thing. What's been like for you being a woman and a mother in this industry?
So I would say it's not different to being a woman in any other industry.
Right.
I think we work twice as hard, but there's a slow shift. I think a couple of my friends are now filling in executive roles, in the music industry and in other industries. So like Sylvia Rohn, the CEO of Epic Records, there's recently, from the Southern African point of view, it's Nigeria and Kenya as well, but there's a lady by the name of Eloise Kelly. She's now the CEO of Universal Africa. So I think there's a shift coming. We need more of those. But in my role, I'm really also trying to empower women. So what we've done in September last year, we've made a pledge to institute a 50-50 video airplay for all women artists and all women produce content across our 3 channels. And that's being expanded to the other channels across the world. So that's like a global mandate to empower women on the Trace platform. So
Right.
we're shifting the culture.
That's awesome. Yeah, keep shifting the culture. Speaking of shifting the culture, in recent years, in the last 10 years, we've seen African music really take a different perspective, from Africa being the outcast and trying to just sound like America, to African music now really having its own voice on the global continent. We see it in things like social media, where people are using African songs in challenges. We saw Jerusalem, go global. What's it been like in your job to see African music expand globally, and how can Africa continue to expand without losing the authenticity of who we are?
Yeah. I think the future of African music is very bright. I think we're consuming music more than ever before, and I think a wider range of sources now. You just don't have your DSTV at home. You have your YouTube and your Spotify and your Apple Music, and so there's a people are discovering now, and Africans are being exposed to the world without, moving from your chair. So I think there's the power and the influence of the African music it's unavoidable. At some stage, it's going to be everywhere. And I think there's like three platforms that will be leading that. So it's the streaming, the fintech, and the publishing. So the signs are good. There's increased access to smartphones and the internet. So that will going to, attract a lot of the biggest digital platform like Apple. They've launched in 25 African countries now last year. So there's really like a strong interest from the rest of the world on the kind of music. And I can't wait for like an Amapiano song to be on the billboard of, America, for instance.
Right.
And I think we are gonna get there. Those American artists are seeking more into like an Alicia Keys who's done like a really Afrobeat vibe. So there's more interest in that genre. Yeah.
Right. I mean, speaking of the American, I mean, I'll say the worldwide interest in Africa. I mean, we recently saw Beyonce do a whole album, which featured a whole host of African artists. And, I was having this conversation with people, and people are like, oh, that's a privilege for them to be on that platform. But I actually felt that it was a recognition that, Africa was needed on this platform, on the global platform. I mean, let's talk about African artists breaking out into the global industry. What does it take for us to really break out beyond this continent?
Yeah, I think for me, it has to be a very unique song. Like, what does make you unique and stand out? You can't go to America and sound like any other American artist. Like, what is your key differentiator? Like, and the music industry is tough. Like 90% of the artists don't make it. So I would say it's part. There's also a luck element, in that journey. You could have it all and just not make it. It's just it's a matter of like circumstances that bring everything together. But for me, it's really artists need to consider themselves as a brand. So a brand needs marketing, it needs social media platform, it needs good management, which I think we're really lacking in this industry. Like someone will guide you, make you understand the music industry, the ins and outs, but ultimately those artists are a brand.
Right.
And again, for instance, do you know how many music videos we get that look exactly the same? Exactly the same.
Right.
Think out of the box. You don't have to have girls and a Ferrari and people popping champagne. There's way more you can do, and without necessarily breaking the bank, so it's about knowing your brand, positioning. What is your positioning? Who are you as an artist? And coming up with a sound that is like just you. Right.
I mean, we were talking earlier on about, where I'm in Zambia, and we were talking about how, it feels like a lot of the times what we try to do is we try to emulate whatever is trending out there and stuff. And to an extent, you understand, you understand. And you just talked about how you get so many videos that look exactly the same. I really just want to touch on that concept of finding an authentic voice and a genre for a country, and how exportable is that? How exportable is the authentic? I want to say authentic. I don't want to belittle people, because look, Nigeria has the Afro sound, right? Afro beats, which has taken so much time to evolve from the time of, D'banj and Don Jazzy. They had terrible videos at first, and then now they have like amazing content. How important is it in Africa developing, and just like Zambia and ourselves, developing an authentic sound and an authentic genre which we can export? How can we practically do that?
I don't have all the answers to these questions, but I think the idea is for artists also, I think, I'm not saying all of them, but most of them are very focus on making it big in their, like they don't see the bigger picture. So I think we need to start thinking beyond the continent of Africa. Having a business strategy with your release of your music, securing international collaboration. And you need to also keep in mind that you need to make commercially appealing tunes for the global market. So it's a fine line between, you know, coming up with a sound that's true to you, but also make it have an international appeal. So I don't have the answer for Zambia, and I don't know what, going back to the roots of the music history in the country, if there's a specific sound, you know, that's bubbling under that could be the voice of Zambia. But that's the direction I would go into.
Right. I mean, I completely get you on that point. I mean, it's a very difficult journey, and I know there's so many people involved in the music industry that have been working towards that. And sometimes it is a product of luck. You might stumble across something that becomes a hit, and it just bubbles off, right? Let's talk about. Go ahead.
I was actually, sorry to cut you. I was actually, I felt it was needed for someone to do a case study, and I don't know, maybe you've read it. I haven't had the time to look at it, but to do a case study on the Master KG song.
Right.
I mean, my mom sent me a video of my dad who Googled the song lyrics, and he was singing it because he wanted to understand the lyrics. Like the song in France, because you know I'm originally from France, was like #1 for weeks. How do we get there? I'm really trying to understand, is it like a TikTok effect? Is it a social media? Is it a paid for campaign that started by the label? Like, and that's like, if you have the answers, I'm really keen to learn more about that. But sometimes it's just luck, like you said.
True. We're going to get to that. Now, I want to first ask you, a lot of people want to know. I remember about maybe 10 years back, I remember I dropped you an email, and I'm like, Val, I've got some friends from Zambia. They're called Zone Fam. So anybody who doesn't know, I am the one who sent Val an email and said, I've got some friends from Zambia called Zone Fam. Like, they want to send you a video, right? And they did that Shaka Zulu on them. And I think that was the first Zambia video at that stage played on Trace. And you remember you dropped me an email and you're like, hey, this is quite dope. All right, we might give it a spin, right?
Yeah.
I think people want to know, what's the selection criteria for music videos on Trace?
That's such a tough question because there's no like standard answer, but literally, we also it's many things. I would say it's like a triple threat approach. We look at, you know, the popularity of the artist. We look at the popularity, and I'm not talking Zambia specifically. We look at the popularity of the song in the market. We also have a very, very restricted playlist. So there's not that many songs that can make it on the playlist on a weekly basis. And I just don't think people understand that. But with that being said, because when I went to Zambia, what I've realized is that there's a lack of good production companies. I don't know if it's evolved since then. But I felt like there wasn't a lot of available good and not too costly, because shooting a music video can be quite a costly exercise. But we're trying to develop a service where we'll guide artists shooting their music video at a very reasonable price. So we are going to launch the service inside, but this does not mean you will make it on the channel. But there's a platform called UTrace where we've created a YouTube channel. So that guarantees you airplay on this channel, but not necessarily on the TV channel. But it will guarantee the Trace standard in terms of music production point of view. And it's quite a low-cost exercise. We're trying to find the right production crew to do this for us. Because like I said, we really want to empower the artists in the region, you know, to create good content, because the more better content we have, the more option I have to create a Zambia 10 on Trace Africa. Right now, I can't.
Right.
I can't do a Zimbabwe 10. I can't do a Zambia 10 because the quality of the content is not there, but we want to.
Right.
So it's in our own interest for people to be educated in terms of the quality of content we expect for our channel.
Right,
So
right. So, any plans in the immediate future to roll out some of these like workshops? I mean, with the digital, with us being online right now, are there any things that people should be looking out for in the near future with regards to content quality and content creation?
So, during my last trip to Zambia, we spoke about a couple of stakeholders to actually do a like a workshop, around how to produce a good music video. What are the criteria to get on Trace? So I think we need to have those conversations again. But we're also working on a new platform called Trace Academia, and it's the Netflix for education in a way. So it's an edutainment platform that's going to be made available also in Zambia in March, and we are developing some courses. So the first courses that we've developed is a VJ and a DJ course.
Right.
Free application, anyone can have access to it, and the idea is to roll out more courses to empower the artists. So rights management, how to shoot a music video. So these are courses that will be made available on that platform.
Okay.
But maybe towards the end of the year or in 2022.
Okay.
Because it's a big project we're working on at the moment.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about technology, right? We're in a technology era, Val. I mean, social media, the works, right?
Yes.
And one of my views has always been that in the past you needed music videos to explode and to get visibility. And you've just talked about how someone has to first of all be popular. What's the popularity of the artist as one of the things that you look at?
But not only though, because
yeah.
And so we have a lot of shows that have bubbling under artists. So it's not just focused on like the big guys. We also give a platform to those who are really good but are nobody.
Yeah, 100%. But I think where I'm going with this is that what are the opportunities for artists to use social media as a way of getting your attention? Do you find videos on like social media and like put people on game? How important is visibility for them?
Like I said, artists are a brand. So it's a 360 approach that people need to have. You need to look good. You need to dress well. You need to be active on social media. So for me, it's like an all-rounder. But I have a very concrete example to give you. There's a TikToker by the name of Tyler. She just released she's like a TikTok influencer, and she just dropped a music video that took about 2 years to shoot due to COVID. But she's sitting, I think, on over 300,000 views in 5 days.
Wow.
So that shows you the power of social media. So people shouldn't undermine. So you need to have a content strategy. Again, brand positioning. Are you giving back to the community with your art? Like what is it? What are you as a brand and an artist?
Right.
So yeah, social media is crucial. It's really crucial because we also look at YouTube, like how many views does your video have?
Right.
We also look at all those things, yeah.
And with things like YouTube and social media, what's the future of Trace? I mean, we've seen other industries, really go through different challenges with technology, especially with COVID and everything happening. How are you guys innovating yourselves to stay relevant in the social media era and in the era where technology is advancing and Africans are accepting technology more and more now, right? And what's the future and relevance of Trace as we continue to see technological advancement?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I keep on asking myself, am I going to have a job in the coming years, But if you look at the numbers, the TV penetration is still going strong. I think we still have another good 10 to 15 years ahead of us. But with that being said, we always keep in mind what we call the second string strategy, because most of our viewers have their phones in their hands when they watch the channel. So what we're trying to do is trying to increase the technology or improve the technology on the channel to have more interaction with the viewer, so that it's not just necessarily a passive viewing, but a little bit more engaging. So have your tweet on air, entering competition, watch and win. So there's a lot more of that on the channel.
Right.
But I still think we're okay for another 10 years or so. And that's why we're also developing other platforms separate to, the linear TV business with the Trace Academia. That's a big project for Trace going forward.
Right, right. So you're actually also diversifying. I mean, I've also seen the diversification of channels from previously was just Trace Urban to Trace Africa, Trace Gospel. What else are we going to see from Trace in terms of this diversification? What's your plan in terms of that diversification rollout?
Again, if it makes sense, have a Trace Zambia, have a Trace Zimbabwe, have a channel per country. If there's a need for it, I really see a future. And because remember, we started on the continent with 2 channels. So the Trace Urban that you would see back in the days was the same you would see in Nigeria, in Kenya, and now we've gone down to 13 localized channels on the continent, including Francophone Africa. So yeah, I think we've reached, in terms of localization, we've reached quite a big number of channels, but we can go even further if there's a need, from a viewer's perspective. Yeah.
And I think that also the localization provides, almost like a regional platform as well for more content from within the region, giving more opportunity for airplay and for music to bubble up, basically, that can be exported cross regions, cross continent,
Yes.
and I think that's amazing, and kudos to you for that. Let's also talk about content creation. We've seen the emergence of content being made that's just beyond music. Like, I've seen shows coming up. I think I saw Kulichana, The Originators. I love that series. I really did love that series. What's the opportunity for content creators on the platform? And what are you doing to reach out to content creators on the African platforms?
Just before I answer this question, one thing that I forgot to mention is that we also want to grow the awareness of different artists in the different regions. So if you are based in Zambia, we're also trying to make you famous in Nigeria, in Angola, in Kenya. So we've created a show called Juba that takes the best 30 songs of the entire continent, whether it's Lusophone, Anglophone, or Francophone, in one show. And that show is broadcasted all over the world. Because we're really trying to open doors for artists. We don't want just to be famous. If you're a Kenyan artist, we want you to also come tour in South Africa, God forbid, whenever the borders will reopen and we'll get rid of that COVID, But we're really trying to build that circuit, because that's another revenue stream for artists. Eventing and touring is a big key income for artists.
Right.
So, and to your second point, I think COVID didn't only have bad, repercussion on the business, because it's accelerated our digital transformation as well. So because we couldn't do eventing on the ground, we're like, okay, how do we bring those events? How do we bring local content to the artists, to our viewers? And we had a lot of content producers reached out to us, saying, listen, we have this idea and we want to work with you to produce it, and we want to put it on air. And it had a tremendous effect on our ratings in a really positive way. So we are going to continue, in that direction. But obviously it needs to be content that is in line with our editorial guidelines. I'm not going to start putting like soccer matches on the channels. It needs to be within the empowerment mission, within music, lifestyle, fashion, food, whatever our audience is willing to see.
Right. Let me go on to some personal questions, right?
Yes.
These are not going to be hectic, but easy questions.
Okay.
Who are you enjoying right now? Whose music is This is not like they're playing on Trace. Like, who are you enjoying? Who are the 3 artists that you're like, okay, from the continent, I'm enjoying what they're doing?
I can even open my Apple Music and show you. But because I'm French, I also tend to listen to quite a lot of French content. So right now, in my top three, you've got the Wizkid, the Made in Lagos,
Right.
and there's a French artist called Aya Nakamura. I don't know if you ever heard of her,
Yes, yes, yes.
but she's done quite a lot of featuring with like Stormzy and
Mm-hmm.
Oh Boy and a bunch of artists. And then I'm studying Portuguese, I'm learning Portuguese. So I'm really into like Angolan music. So Portuguese speaking music. So right now I'm listening to a lot to a lady called Soraya Ramos.
Okay,
I don't know
okay.
if you heard of, and a band from Cabo Verde called Kalema. So these guys are on my yeah, but I don't. I like listening to playlists that make me discover a lot of music from the continent. So I tend to go to like an Afrobeat playlist that will like introduce me and help me discover like a lot of the artists on the continent.
So I remember my college days when there was Magic System, and I was like, Val, what does this mean? I remember Val translated all the lyrics from. I didn't even know what they were saying. I remember
Yeah.
that.
The CJs,
Yeah, CJ. Shout out to everyone in
yeah.
Grahamstown Roads. It still does it. You know.
No,
Have you ever been back to Grahamstown, by the way?
no, and I'm dying to go back. Maybe during the festival, hopefully when things go back, I really want to go back. I really want to go back. It was fun time, really fun time.
Right, right. And maybe just one more question. I mean, COVID-19 has been so hectic.
Yeah,
What's the biggest?
I had it, so I know. Trust me, I got it
Yeah.
in June.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
To be very honest with you, where we are now, we just had a second wave in Zambia, and it was a lot more devastating this time than the first time. And for us, we still have at the time of this, we still have I think about 6,000, 7,000 cases or so. So it's still a bit hectic, and but through all this, what have you learned, and what has continued driving you?
I've learned resilience. Um, I've learned that also your mental health is really important. And it was a really tough time for everybody within the Trace team, whether people got sick themselves, like myself. Um, a lot of family members, were lost. But I've also learned that there's always a saying that goes, oh, that meeting could have been a phone call. And really, COVID has really proven that I don't need to drive 40 minutes for a 45 minutes meeting when we can chat over the phone. That's really for me because I've been a lot more productive because now I don't have to necessarily drive to the office every day. So we've become a lot more agile in the sense that even when COVID ends, I want people to be able to work from home because people have been really productive. If they want to work in their pajamas the whole day, as long as the work is done, we good. So it's really taught me that, that digital transformation was fast tracked by COVID, and really that meeting could have been a phone call. So now, and after COVID, I want to keep on working this way because I work a lot faster. I have more calls during the day. I've been a lot more proactive, I think, in terms of, delivering on my targets by working from home. So
Right.
yeah, it hasn't been all that bad in a way.
I'm telling you, I don't know if COVID hadn't happened, I don't know if I'd have reached out to you to do this, because I always tell people, I said this period for me has been such an enlightening period, and a period that has taught me that I could have done so much earlier, right, and been productive a whole lot earlier, right? Val,
Absolutely.
final words. What words would you have for the musicians and people on the continent, to keep them going through this time and how they can continue growing?
Again, going back to taking you as an artist seriously, it is a lot of work. You are a brand and you need to learn how to present yourself, introduce yourself, take yourself seriously. Find a good management. don't sign anything without understanding what you're signing. And I think for artists, if you are trying to break through the entire continent, think of collaboration outside of your country. So, and I think to give you a very concrete example, I think Sauti Soul has done this really well in their last album. They've collaborated with a francophone artist from the DRC, I think. They've
Yeah.
collaborated with a Nigerian artist, Lusophone artist. So really to try and break in all those different regions, because that before you think international, I would actually even think continent. Before thinking
Right.
UK, US, I would think continent
Right.
first, before
Right.
then trying to break through the other markets.
That's a
So
very
that would be my advice.
that's a valid point. I mean, I think people fail to understand Africa's capacity, like even continentally. You know, I'll tell you what. There's a few artists here in Zambia, gospel artists, right? Their name Pompey and Mag 44. They
Yes,
usually play
I know.
on Trace, right? Trace
Yes,
Gospel. They told
yes.
me of they go to East Africa almost annually, right?
See?
And they know their lyrics word for word, and they sing in vernacular. But Pompey and Mag were telling me of a story of how they were at a concert, a festival, and East Africans knew their lyrics word for word. I think Zambia as well, we don't understand because we have the same languages or similar languages as Malawi, right?
Yes, yes.
And I like the way East Africa looks at Swahili as one, of course they're different countries, but they're able to then market themselves across the different countries, So I think the regional aspect is definitely a new thought and one that we need to start working with, eh?
And it's so much easier to reach out from let's say Zambia to someone in Kenya. It's so much easier and so much easier than reaching out to someone in the UK who's probably going to disregard you, if that makes sense.
True. Val, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so conscious of time because I know there'll be a little guy coming through very, very soon.
Thank you so much for having
Yeah,
me.
thank you so much for being with us, Val. All right, everyone, thank you so much for being part of Culture Shock Africa. Once again, if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and click the subscribe button, comment, and we'll be sure to get back to you. Look out for more content as we're back with you next week. Peace.